So, what's happening with Shea Lacey? Clips of his dribbling ability have been floating around since he was 14. He's been dubbed one of United's biggest talents, yet at 18, he's still not made his first team debut, and only last week made his debut for the under-21s. Now let me explain to you why such a highly rated player hasn't broken through yet, how he's been performing, how injuries have derailed that breakthrough, what Amorim thinks of him, his progress, and how he's getting on right now. And make sure you subscribe for more United videos like this every single day. Now, if you're a United fan and you haven't heard the name Shea Lacey, where have you been? In terms of younger talents, he's been one of the hottest prospects for a good long time. But unfortunately for him, every time he takes a step forward, he has to take two back because of injuries. So let's have a quick overview of what's been going on with Shea Lacey so we can build up to where he is right now. Lacey has been with the United's academy since he was a kid, even though all his family are diehard Liverpool fans. He quickly stood out, captained all the age groups, and even won player of the tournament in a tournament that featured Lamine Yamal. So it was no surprise he made his under-18s debut at United, aged just 15. And in his second under-18s match, he set up 2 goals against Blackburn, and a first goal for the under-18s followed shortly after. Now, after that breakthrough, he signed his scholarship and his pre-professional contract in the summer of 2023. And that's kind of highly unusual for the age that he was, and it was indicative and reflective of the talent that he was at that age. But unfortunately, it was in November of that year where the injury problem started. In November 2023, Lacey picked up an injury which kept him out until the middle of April 2024. And to make things worse, he faced another setback within weeks of returning. 5 months later, in late September 2024, he made his season debut. And a week after that, the under-18s found themselves in a very, very rare situation. They were 4-0 down to Spurs. Now, Lacey came on in the 60th minute, and he grabbed the game by the scruff of its neck, as he can. He scored 2 goals in quick succession. With 4 minutes to go, Gabriel Bianchetti converted a penalty, and United needed just 1 more goal. In extra time, Lacey drove down the byline. He beat 2 defenders before he put in a perfectly weighted ball into the penalty area, but Victor Musa unfortunately didn't manage to convert. Despite United failing to come back, Lacey came off the bench after all those injury woes and reminded everybody exactly how good he is. Now, coming on at 4-0 down, most players will be a bit down and out. But Lacey really reminded everybody the quality that he has, the dribbling with the ball at his feet. He's one of those technicians that crafts chances. You know, there's just certain players you watch at academy level and you're like, he's far too good at football for academy level. That's the sort of natural talent that Lacey has, and that's what is really exciting about him still. But after 2 more strong performances, Lacey picked up another injury in early November. He had to bide his time again until he was able to return to the under-18 squad against Liverpool in February, and once again he reminded everyone of his ability. In April, Lacey scored a late winner against Derby. Fortunately, he kept fit. Then he went on the post-season tour to Asia, and he showed flashes of his ability. But then, again, he unfortunately picked up another injury right before the pre-season tour. And of all the injuries that Shea had up until this date, that was probably going to be the one that hurt him the most, mentally anyway. You've impressed Ruben Amorim, you're ready to go on the pre-season tour, there's opportunities and spaces in the squad, boom, injury. Takes that opportunity away from him. And imagine how frustrating that must be to, as I said, put all the graft in, the work in, take that step forward, but then injuries take it back for you. However, there really is plenty of reason to still be hopeful. We should try and remain as calm as we can about the lad. Injuries, especially growth and weight gain related ones, are often common between 14 and 18. Some players are more affected than others. Due to his diminutive stature and slim frame, Lacey had to put on a lot of weight and muscle since 2023, as the view has always been to get him around the first team. He's gradually filled out that frame. Now, while we're not privy to his medical information, it's likely that at least some of his injuries have been growth and body composition related. There have been plenty of players with similar injury history in the academy. United stuck with them through it all. Jack Morehouse is a recent example. Very long spells of injuries, but now looks to have finally adapted to his body and has started his loan spell at Leyton Orient very well. A bit of an older example is Scott McTominay. He wasn't always the physical specimen he is today.
And maybe more in your case, that growth spurt was taking place around 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
And with an
When
injury.
you look at that,
with an
injury, so you got to think you're 15 years old there, and then you got to think Wayne Rooney, whenever he was 16, was an absolute tank.
And you don't even look like a 50. So it's imagine, you know, it's a
Like
generation.
a 10-year-old.
Well, now that, like you say, that looks like an 11, 12-year-old, doesn't it?
Yeah.
McTominay made his debut at age 20, and his path through the academy wasn't a smooth one.
That was a tough time, probably the youth team 2-3 years, where I didn't kick a ball, not one ball from like 15 to 17 and a half, nearly 18. Didn't kick a ball, played one game against Bolton away in the youth team, and that was it. And that was when I was a proper kid. I probably looked like that was probably me there.
Yeah.
And you're coming up against guys who are men, and you can't compete.
United as an academy are excellent when it comes to treating players with injuries like this and being patient with them. So there is still plenty of hope for Lacey yet. And I think the fact that United have been so patient with Shea Lacey and all the injuries and all the problems and all the setbacks he has is, again, indicative of the talent that he is. A player like that you don't just cast to the shadows. Maybe some other players who weren't quite as good wouldn't have been given as much, I'm not going to say leeway, but as much time, as much grace as Shea Lacey has been given. But the real question is, how's he getting on right now? Lacey's talent is evident, and the club know that better than anyone else. Reports have suggested that Amorim has pinpointed Shea as a huge talent, and the fact he didn't go out on loan adds to that belief. United as a club consider Lacey a future first-team prospect. Now, under-21s coach Travis Binnion has been speaking about Lacey after he assisted Amir Ibragimov's winner for the under-21s in the Manchester derby. Everybody in the world knows about Shea Lacey. He needs to be patient with himself, and everyone else will need to be patient with him because there is still loads to come tactically, physically, mentally. We are still managing him physically, and if he can stay on the pitch and stay training, everyone thinks he could be a top player. And even former academy players are impressed.
Like every time I've gone back, they've always mentioned Shea Lacey.
Yeah.
You know him, yeah?
Yeah.
Mate.
I don't know him personally, but I know him as a player.
I went in, we was there for one game.
Good player. Very good player.
Now, I think the fact that we're hearing Travis Binnion, our under-21s coach, speak so highly of Shea Lacey is, again, it's probably reflective of the fact that the coaches see so much more than we do as fans. Because as fans, we haven't had the opportunity to see too much of him because of all the injury problems. But as Travis Binnion said there really is a top player there. And that's why United are still giving him the chance. And 3 days after those comments from Travis Binnion, he was a standout player and scored a wonderful goal against the PFA selection team. If he can stay fit, he'll be involved at a senior level sooner rather than later. And maybe, especially with Ahmad and Mbumo leaving for AFCON in December and January, you might see him get an opportunity, at least to join the matchday squad of the first team. And no matter how frustrating it is for us as fans to see a pathway for a player as good as Shea Lacey blocked, imagine how frustrating it is for him. But look, that's what's happening with him, a sort of a detailed overview of his career so far with United's academy, and how right now, having made his under-21s debut, hopefully this can be the season where Shea can go, you know what, I put my injury woes behind him, because if it is, then you're going to watch the start of the breakthrough of a wonderful player from our academy.